The sun had not yet risen over the small town of Kaliempur. A thin mist floated above the dusty road, and the sound of roosters echoed from every direction. In a small brick house with a tin roof, a 17-year-old boy named Ariv sat by the window, staring at the weak flame of a kerosene lamp. His school books were open, but his eyes were far away, lost in thoughts too heavy for his age. His mother, Mina, walked quietly into the room. "Ariv," she said softly, "it's almost morning. You should rest a little." He smiled faintly. "I can't sleep, Ma. I have to pass this exam. If I fail again," his voice broke. Mina placed her rough, working hands on his shoulder. "My son, don't say that. You're not a failure. You are just learning." Ariv nodded, though inside he didn't believe her. For years, he had struggled in English. Every time he read a passage, the words seemed like a storm, wild and confusing. His classmates laughed when he mispronounced something. The teachers ignored him because they thought he was slow. And yet, deep inside, he carried a fire that never went out, a tiny, stubborn spark of hope. That night, the voice inside him whispered louder than ever, "Don't waste your life, Ariv. You're meant for more." The next day, the old school bell rang, a cracked metallic sound that echoed through the small compound. Ariv walked into his classroom, clutching his torn English book. The desks were carved with names and hearts. The walls were stained with chalk dust and age. The teacher, Mr. Sharma, walked in. He was known for his strictness and his dislike for weak students. "Open your English readers," he barked. "Today we read Lesson 5, A Journey by Train." "Ariv, read the first paragraph." Ariv froze. He stood up slowly, his hands trembling. "Sir, may I?" "Read." Ariv began. "I was traveling by train." Laughter exploded in the classroom. Some students clapped mockingly. "Enough," Mr. Sharma shouted. "You don't even know how to read simple sentences? You are wasting your time and mine." Ariv sat down, his face burning with shame. His dream of becoming fluent in English felt impossible. The world outside spoke a language he couldn't enter. Every failure was a wall between him and his future. When the bell rang, he left quietly. But in his heart, a silent promise formed. One day, I will speak like them, even better. That evening, Ariv went to the town's old library, a place few people visited. The librarian, an old man named Mr. Day, looked up as Ariv entered. "You again?" Mr. Day smiled. "Didn't you return that grammar book last month?" "Yes, sir," Ariv replied shyly. "But I want to try again." Mr. Day nodded approvingly. "That's the spirit." Most students give up after failing once. As Ariv sat in a corner reading, a stranger entered the library. He looked young but confident, perhaps in his mid-20s. He wore simple clothes but spoke fluent English when he asked the librarian for a newspaper. Ariv couldn't stop listening. Every word was clear, natural, and powerful. When a stranger noticed Ariv's curiosity, he smiled. "Hey there, you like English?" Ariv hesitated. I want to learn, but it's hard." The man chuckled. "Everything is hard before it's easy. What's your name?" "Ariv." "I'm Ravi, a teacher from the city. I'm visiting my uncle here." "Tell me, Ariv, why do you want to learn English?" Ariv thought for a moment. "Because I want to change my life. Everyone says I'm useless. I want to prove them wrong." Ravi looked at him deeply. "That's a good reason. But remember, you must learn English not just to prove others wrong, but to prove yourself right." Those words sank deep into Ariv's heart. Before leaving, Ravi handed Ariv a small notebook. "Every day, write 10 new English words. Learn how to use them in sentences. Then speak them aloud, even if you're alone." Ariv's eyes lit up. "Thank you, sir." Ravi smiled. "I'll be here for a few weeks. If you're serious, come to the park every evening. I'll help you." That night, Ariv sat on his bed and stared at the empty notebook. On the first page, he wrote in shaky letters, "Day 1, I will not waste my life." Then he began writing words: hope, dream, believe, work, change. He whispered them again and again until they became a rhythm, a kind of heartbeat. The next evening, Ariv went to the park. Ravi was sitting on a bench, reading. "Good, you came," he said. "Now let's practice." For the next hour, Ravi taught Ariv simple sentences, pronunciation tips, and confidence tricks. He didn't laugh when Arav made mistakes. Instead, he encouraged him gently. "Don't be afraid of errors," he said. "Mistakes are the fingerprints of learning." For the first time, Arav felt that English wasn't his enemy. It was a bridge, one he could build with effort and patience. When he returned home, his mother noticed the light in his eyes. "You look happy, Arav." He smiled. "Ma, I met someone who believes in me." Weeks passed. Arav's English improved slowly. He began to understand small stories, speak short sentences, and even dream in English words. But one day, Ravi told him he had to return to the city. "I'll miss you, Arav. But remember, this journey is yours. Don't stop now." Arav's heart sank. "Will I ever see you again?" "Maybe. But more important, will you keep going?" Arav nodded. "I will." As Ravi left, he handed Arav a folded paper. "Open this only when you feel lost." Months later, exam results were announced. Arav's hands trembled as he unfolded his paper. He had passed, not with top marks, but with real progress. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, he felt proud. His teacher, Mr. Sharma, noticed. Not bad, Arav. You've improved." That single sentence was worth everything. That night, Arav finally opened Ravi's note. Inside it said, "Arav, your real exam isn't in school. It's in life. Every day, you decide to waste your life or to build it." Arav looked out the window at the night sky. The stars seemed closer than ever. He whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning. I will not waste my life." The flame of the lamp flickered, not weakly this time, but strong and steady. 3 months had passed since the exam. The hot season had arrived in Kalyanpur. The small town buzzed with the sound of fans, bicycles, and street vendors shouting in the sun. But inside his home, Arav was awake before dawn again, reading. His notebook was now half filled with English words. Every page carried his effort, his small victories. He whispered as he read aloud, "Success is not for the lucky. It is for the stubborn." His mother entered, smiling. "You still haven't stopped, Arav?" He looked up. "No, Ma. I feel something inside me, like fire." She nodded gently. "That fire, keep it safe, Beta. The world tries to blow it out." One afternoon, Arav overheard his friend Ramesh talking in the market. "Did you hear? The new English coaching center in the city needs an assistant. They're hiring students who can help with classes." Arav's heart raced. An English center. He rushed home. "Ma, I want to go to the city and apply." Meena hesitated. "But, Arav, we have little money. The bus ticket, food, rent." "I'll manage, Ma. Please. If I get the job, I'll earn. I'll learn more English, meet people. It's my chance." She looked into his eyes. That same fire burned there. She sighed. "Go. But promise me, whatever happens, you will not give up." "I promise." 2 days later, Arav arrived in the nearby city of Verampur. It was louder, faster, and brighter than his town. Buses honked endlessly, people spoke fast, and billboards flashed in English, words he could now slowly understand. He found the Global English Academy, a small building on a busy street. Inside, students sat with headphones, repeating phrases from recordings. A confident-looking man stood near the reception. "Good morning, sir," Arav said nervously. "Morning," the man replied. "You here for the assistant position?" "Yes, sir." Tell me about yourself," in English. Arav took a deep breath. His heart pounded. "My name is Arav. I am from Kalyanpur. I passed my English exam last month. I want to work here because I love English and want to help other students learn." The man smiled. "Good. Not perfect, but honest. You can start as a helper. Clean the whiteboard, arrange books, help students with practice." Arav bowed slightly. "Thank you, sir. I will do my best." He walked out of the office with trembling hands, not from fear, but from joy. This is my new beginning, he thought. Days turned into weeks. Arav worked hard, sweeping floors, arranging chairs, filling water bottles, and staying late after class. But what others didn't know was that after everyone left, he would sit quietly and listen to the English recordings. He repeated every sentence out loud. Believe in yourself. Every expert was once a beginner. Practice makes perfect. One night, the main teacher, Ms. Nisha entered and found him there. Arif, you're still here? Yes, ma'am. I was just learning. She smiled. You remind me of myself when I started. Keep going. She handed him a small book, English for Daily Life. Take this, she said, and tomorrow, help new students practice conversation. You speak simply, that's good for them. Arif couldn't believe it. Me? Help them? Yes. Don't underestimate yourself. That night, he walked home through the glowing city lights, whispering to himself, I can do it. I am becoming someone new. But not every day was bright. Some students laughed when Arif made small mistakes. Assistant trying to be a teacher, one of them mocked. Arif's confidence cracked. That night, he sat alone in his small rented room, staring at the book. The city outside seemed colder than ever. He remembered Ravi, his old mentor. He missed him deeply. Then he remembered the note Ravi had given him. When you feel lost, remember, your real exam is in life. Arif whispered, this is my test. He opened his notebook and wrote in bold letters, I will rise again. Then he recorded his own voice reading sentences in English. His accent was rough, his tone unsure, but every word carried truth. One afternoon, a shy girl joined the academy. Her name was Priya, a first-year college student who struggled with spoken English. During practice sessions, she was quiet. Arif noticed her hesitation. He smiled kindly. It's okay, Priya. Everyone starts somewhere. Try speaking. I'll listen. She nodded nervously. My name, Priya. I am student. Good. Now say, I am a student. Repeat after me. I'm a student. That's it. See? Not so hard. Day by day, Priya gained confidence, and so did Arif. Teaching her helped him speak more clearly. It was as if by helping others, he was healing his own fear. One day, Ms. Nisha announced a small competition. Each student will give a short English speech on my dream. The best speaker will win a certificate and a book prize. Arif froze. A speech? In front of everyone? That night, he couldn't sleep. He practiced in front of the mirror, stumbling over words. Priya encouraged him. You can do it, Arif. You helped me speak. Now it's your turn. He smiled weakly. What if I fail? You already failed once, she said. You didn't stop then. Why stop now? Those words hit deep. The hall was full. Students, teachers, even the principal attended. When Arif's name was called, he felt his heart racing. His palms were sweaty, his throat dry. He walked up to the stage. For a second, his mind went blank. Then he remembered Ravi's voice. Learn English not to prove others wrong, but to prove yourself right. He looked up and began, slowly, clearly. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arif, and my dream is simple, not to waste my life. I come from a small town where dreams are small and fear is big. But one day, I met someone who told me, change begins when you stop saying I can't. I learn English not just to speak, but to believe. Today, when I say I can, I mean it. Not because I am perfect, but because I try every day. Thank you. The room was silent for a moment, then filled with applause. Arif blinked in disbelief. He had done it. Ms. Nisha smiled proudly. Well done, Arif. You spoke from your heart. That evening, Arif sat under a streetlight, holding his small certificate. It wasn't gold or fancy, but to him, it was worth a crown. Priya joined him. You were amazing, she said. He smiled. I was just honest. She looked up at the stars. Do you ever think about where you'll be in 5 years? Arif thought deeply. I don't know. Maybe teaching English to others who feel hopeless, like I once did. Priya nodded. Then you already know your purpose. A few weeks later, Arif received a letter at the academy. The handwriting was familiar, Ravi's. Dear Arif, I heard from Mr. Day that you're now in the city, working and learning. I'm proud of you. Remember, knowledge without purpose is just information. Use your English to lift others, not just yourself. And never forget, the fire inside you is your greatest teacher. Ravi. Arif held the letter close to his chest. Tears filled his eyes, but this time they were tears of strength. He whispered, I won't let this fire die. As the city lights shimmered in the distance, Arif stood tall. The same boy who once trembled reading a single sentence now inspired others to speak. He looked up at the sky, and the stars seemed to whisper back, "Keep burning, Arif. The fire inside you will light the way." It had been nearly a year since Arif first arrived in the city. His English had improved beyond recognition. He could read newspapers, talk to foreigners at the cafe, and even help the teacher run the academy. The walls that once trapped him now felt like open doors. Yet inside him, a quiet storm was growing, the kind that comes before change. One evening, while cleaning the classroom after hours, Ms. Nisha approached him. "Arif," she said softly, "you've grown a lot. The students respect you. I think it's time you started teaching your own class." Arif froze. "Me? A real class?" "Yes," she smiled. "You've earned it. Start with beginners. You understand their fear." That night, Arif couldn't sleep. He replayed her words again and again. Start your own class. It was a dream, but it was also terrifying. What if he failed again? What if his students laughed like before? But deep inside, the fire still whispered, "You've come too far to stop now." The next Monday, 12 new students entered the small classroom. Arif stood at the front, holding a piece of chalk. He looked at their nervous faces, some shy, some doubtful, some just like him a year ago. "Good morning," he said. The class echoed back weakly, "Good morning." He smiled. "Don't be shy. English is not a monster. It's a friend. And like every friendship, it takes time." A few students chuckled softly. The tension melted. He began teaching simple phrases, greetings, introductions, everyday expressions. His voice shook at first, but soon grew confident. By the end of the class, one student raised his hand. "Sir, your English is so good. How did you learn?" Arif smiled. "By failing many times." Laughter filled the room. That night, he wrote in his notebook, "Today I became what I once dreamed of, a teacher." Weeks later, Ms. Nisha called Arif to her office. "There's an English-speaking contest in the city," she said. "Schools and institutes from everywhere are joining. I think you should represent us." Arif's jaw dropped. "Me? Compete with city students? Their English is perfect." "Perfection doesn't win hearts," she said. "Truth does. Speak your truth." He hesitated, but her confidence gave him courage. The topic for the speech was how I changed my life. He smiled. He knew that story well. As the competition approached, Arif practiced every evening. Priya helped him polish pronunciation and grammar. But not everyone was happy about his progress. A senior assistant at the academy, Rohit, had always been jealous. One evening, Arif left his notebook on the desk and went to fetch water. When he returned, the notebook was gone. He searched everywhere, panic rising. That notebook held his speech, notes, and even Ravi's old letters. Rohit smirked from across the room. "Lose something, Arif?" Arif's heart sank. He knew, but he also knew confronting him wouldn't help. He clenched his fists, fighting back anger. That night, he sat alone in the dark room. His hard work, his plans, all vanished. He whispered, "Why does life always test me?" But then, from deep within, a voice rose again, the same one that had saved him before. Because life wants to see how badly you want it. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he tried to remember every line of his speech, word by word, sentence by sentence. He stood in front of the mirror, practicing aloud. "I'm not born confident. I am built by failure." My voice shook once, but now it carries dreams. The words came slowly at first, then flowed like a river. By dawn, he had rebuilt his entire speech from memory. And this time, it wasn't written on paper, it was written in his heart. The auditorium was grand, bright lights, hundreds of people, and a banner that read, "Speak to Inspire, City-Wide English Challenge." Arif stood backstage, heart pounding. City students in suits and ties spoke confidently around him. He wore a simple shirt and nervous hope. When his name was called, he walked to the stage. The spotlight felt heavy, but his purpose was stronger. He looked at the audience, teachers, students, judges. He took a deep breath and began. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Arif, and I come from a small town most of you have never heard of. A year ago, I couldn't speak a sentence in English without trembling. People laughed at me. Even teachers said I was wasting my time. But I learned something powerful. English is not a language of the rich. It is the language of courage. I didn't learn it to impress anyone. I learned it to express myself. Today, when I speak to you, I am not showing my grammar. I am showing my journey. Every mistake taught me patience. Every failure built my strength. And if I can stand here today, it's because one person once told me, don't waste your life, build it, one word at a time. The hall was silent. Then, slowly, applause began, soft at first, then thunderous. Tears filled Ariv's eyes. For the first time, he felt seen, truly seen. After the event, Ms. Nisha hugged him. You made us proud, Ariv. You didn't just speak, you touched hearts. The results were announced. Ariv came second, but to him, it felt like first. Reporters asked for photos. Students from other academies congratulated him. Even Rohit stood silently in the corner, guilt hidden behind forced smiles. That night, Ariv sat on the rooftop of his rented room, the trophy in his hand. He whispered to himself, I didn't need revenge. I needed victory. A week later, Ariv received an email from a language institute in Delhi. Dear Mr. Ariv, we saw your performance at the city event. We would like to offer you a scholarship for a teacher training program at our center. Regards, the English Growth Academy. Ariv read the message 3 times to believe it. A scholarship. Delhi. His dream was unfolding faster than he imagined. He ran to Ms. Nisha, who nearly cried when she heard the news. You deserve it, Ariv. You're proof that hard work changes destiny. He nodded, but his voice trembled. Ma will be so proud. When he returned home to tell his mother, she was waiting at the door. Her eyes filled with tears when she heard about Delhi. I told you, Ariv, she said softly, never let the fire die. He hugged her tightly. Ma, your faith was my first teacher. She smiled. Then go and teach the world. Before leaving, he visited Mr. Day at the library, the same place where his journey began. The old man looked up and said, Ah, my best reader returns. Ariv bowed. Sir, I came to say thank you for believing in books when no one else did. Mr. Day smiled. And you, for proving that books still change lives. The morning of his departure, Ariv stood at the bus station with a small bag and a huge dream. The sky was gray, wind heavy. A storm was brewing. As he climbed onto the bus, rain began to fall, hard, loud, cleansing. He looked out the window, watching his small town fade in the distance. The place that once limited him now blessed him goodbye. He whispered one last time, don't waste your life. As the bus rolled toward Delhi, lightning flashed across the sky. Not a warning, but a sign. The storm before success had passed. In that moving bus, Ariv smiled. Not because he had reached his destination, but because he finally understood the journey. He whispered softly to himself, the world speaks many languages, but the strongest one is faith. The bus rolled into Delhi at sunrise. Towers of glass and steel glowed orange in the morning light. Horns, voices, advertisements in English. Everything moved faster than Ariv had ever imagined. He stepped off the bus, clutching his single bag. Around him, the world buzzed. Vendors calling, students hurrying, taxis arguing for passengers. This is it, he whispered. My new chapter. He followed the address from his scholarship letter and reached the English Growth Academy, a modern building with bright posters. Fluent minds change lives. A receptionist smiled. You must be Ariv from Kalyampur. Welcome to Delhi. He nodded shyly. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. She handed him a file. Your dormitory is on the 3rd floor. Classes start tomorrow. Ariv walked to his small room, clean, quiet, with a single desk and a window facing the city. He placed his old notebook on the table, lit a small lamp, and said softly, From this desk, I will build a new life. Next morning, orientation began. 50 trainees from all over India filled the hall. Confident, fluent, stylish. The instructor, Mr. Thomas, an energetic man with a British accent, welcomed them. Congratulations, future teachers. Here we don't just teach English, we teach courage. When introductions began, voices echoed smoothly. I'm Neha from Mumbai. I've taught spoken English for 3 years. I'm Raj from Bangalore. I hold a master's in linguistics. Then it was Ariv's turn. He stood up slowly. My name is Ariv from Kalyampur. I am new. I learned English by myself and by helping others. Some trainees smiled politely. A few whispered. Arif sat down, heartbeat loud. Mr. Thomas looked directly at him. Self-taught? That's impressive. Never be ashamed of your roots, Arif. They keep you real. Arif felt something ease inside. Maybe the city wouldn't eat him alive after all. The first module was public speaking and confidence. Trainees had to present short talks each week. Arif's English was fine, but his accent and hesitation drew giggles from a few classmates. One afternoon, Neha approached him. You're hard-working, Arif, but your accent, it's too local. Maybe you should sound more modern? He smiled politely. Maybe, but I want my students to understand me first, not admire me. That night, her words echoed in his head. He opened his notebook and wrote, Don't change your voice to impress the world. Change your world with your own voice. Days turned into weeks. Arif studied pronunciation, classroom management, and communication theory. He struggled at times, especially with complex grammar explanations. During lunch breaks, he often sat alone reading aloud under a tree. Soon, a few others joined, curious, inspired. One day, a tall trainee named Karen said, Arif, the way you explain simple things, it actually helps us understand better. Arif laughed. Maybe because I was confused once, too. The group began calling themselves the Learner's Circle. They practiced together every evening, mixing laughter with lessons. Arif, once the quietest, had become the glue holding them together. Halfway through the course, tragedy struck. Arif received a phone call late one night. It was his mother's neighbor. Beta, your mother is in the hospital. She fell while working. His world went silent. He rushed to the nearest station, heart pounding all the way back to Kalyampur. When he reached the hospital, Meena was lying weak but smiling. I'm Fine, Adav. Just a small accident. Tears filled his eyes. Ma, I shouldn't have left you. She held his hand. Don't say that. I'm proud of you. You're living the dream I never could. He stayed for a week until she recovered. When he told her he was thinking of quitting to care for her, she said firmly, If you stop now, you'll break all that hard work. Go back, finish strong. I'll be here, cheering for you. When Arif returned to Delhi, he expected to have fallen behind, but his friends surprised him with notes and recordings they had made for him. Karen handed him a flash drive. We saved all lectures. You're not alone, man. Arif felt his throat tighten. Thank you, all of you. He redoubled his effort. Every morning at 5 a.m., he practiced speeches. Every evening, he tutored classmates who struggled. Slowly, even the most confident trainees began to respect him. Not for perfect English, but for perfect dedication. Their final task was to teach a real class of beginners. Each trainee would be observed and graded. Arif was assigned to a group of factory workers learning English for job promotions. Nervous but excited, he greeted them warmly. Good evening, friends. My name is Arif. We will learn English together, slowly, simply, and strongly. They smiled, relieved. Over the next weeks, he used creative methods, stories, role plays, motivational talks. He spoke about his own journey, showing that language is power. At the end, one worker stood up and said, Sir, before your class I was scared to speak. Now I talk to my manager in English. Thank you. The examiners in the back clapped softly. Mr. Thomas whispered to another instructor, That boy will change lives. Graduation day arrived. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Certificates, cameras, proud smiles everywhere. When names were called, Arif waited patiently until the final award. Best Inspirational Teacher, Batch of Year. Mr. Thomas smiled. This award goes to someone who reminded us why we teach, to lift others. Arif from Kalyampur. Applause filled the hall. Arif walked to the stage, tears shining. He said softly into the microphone, I came here with fear and one old notebook. Today, I leave with faith and hundreds of new friends. English gave me a voice, but people gave me purpose. Thank you for believing in me. After the ceremony, a representative from a private institute approached him. We're opening branches across small towns. Would you like to lead one? Arif's heart skipped. Where? In your home region. We need passionate teachers like you. He smiled. Then yes, I'd love to return, not as a student, but as a guide. Months later, the new Fluent Future Center opened in his hometown. Posters read, "Learn English, build confidence, change your life." The first day, dozens of young faces filled the small classroom. Nervous, hopeful, just like he once was. He looked at them and began in simple, clear English. "I was once afraid to say even hello, but I learned that fear fades when you try. Here, we don't just learn English, we learn courage." His mother sat in the front row, smiling proudly. That night, as he locked the new classroom and looked at the stars above Kalyampur, Arif felt peace. The city had taught him confidence. His town reminded him of humility. He whispered, "Dreams don't live in cities. They live wherever hearts refuse to give up." The Fluent Future Center in Kalyampur had become more than a classroom. It was a movement. Within a year, Arif's small school had doubled in size. Students from nearby villages came by bicycle, train, even on foot. Posters with his smiling face appeared across the region. "Learn English. Change your life. Join Arif Sir's classes." Local newspapers called him the boy who taught hope. YouTube channels invited him for interviews. His inbox overflowed with messages. "Sir, your story changed my life. Please open a branch in our town." Every word of praise made his heart swell and tremble. He often sat alone in the classroom after hours, staring at the chalkboard. "Is this what success feels like?" he thought. "Or am I drifting away from the boy who just wanted to learn?" Soon, demands began piling up. Parents wanted extra batches. Students wanted online lessons. Sponsors offered partnerships. His assistant, Rena, knocked one evening. "Sir, 3 new students are waiting. Also, a reporter from the city wants an interview tonight." Arif rubbed his forehead. "Again? Rena, I haven't even eaten." "You're famous now, sir," she smiled. "People want your time." He nodded weakly. "Yes, everyone wants time. Except me." That night, after the interview, he looked in the mirror and barely recognized himself. Dark circles under his eyes, voice tired, smile forced. He whispered, "I want to teach. Now I just perform." The next morning, he woke before dawn, unable to sleep. He stepped outside, feeling the cool air against his face. The village was quiet, peaceful, but his mind wasn't. He took his old notebook, the one he had used in Delhi, and flipped through its worn pages. There, he found his own handwriting. "Don't change your voice to impress the world. Change your world with your own voice." He sighed deeply. "When did I forget that?" Later that day, Mr. Thomas, his old instructor from Delhi, arrived unexpectedly. He was traveling nearby and decided to visit. The two sat in the classroom, sipping tea. "So," Thomas smiled, "I see Kalyampur has its own celebrity now." Arif laughed nervously. "Celebrity?" "No, sir. Just a teacher with too many classes." Thomas studied his face. "You look tired, Arif. Are you happy?" Arif hesitated. "I don't know. Everyone says I should be. But lately, I feel lost." Thomas leaned forward. "Let me tell you something. Success is like salt. A little makes food taste better, too much ruins it." Arif looked down. "So what should I do?" "Go back to the beginning," Thomas said softly. "Teach like it's your first day. Forget cameras. Forget applause. Find your reason again." Those words hit him harder than any speech he'd ever heard. A week later, Arif was scheduled to give a live online session for thousands of viewers. It was supposed to be his biggest event yet. But that morning, his mother found him sitting on the porch, staring at nothing. "Beta, you're not ready?" she asked gently. He shook his head. "Ma, I don't want to talk today. I just can't." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You used to speak from your heart. Now you speak for the world. Maybe your heart just needs a rest." He looked at her with tears in his eyes. "I feel empty, Ma. Everyone thinks I'm successful, but I'm losing myself." She smiled softly. "Then stop running. Sit. Listen to the silence. You'll hear what matters again." He canceled the session that day, the first time ever. Social media buzzed. Why did Arif Sir cancel? Is he quitting? But Arif didn't care. For the first time in months, he simply breathed. The next morning, he walked through the village market. Kids waved, shopkeepers greeted him, but he noticed something new. the faces he used to ignore when he was busy. He met Raju, a young boy selling vegetables. "Sir, I want to study in your school, but I can't afford it," the boy said shyly. Arif smiled gently. "Come tomorrow morning. We'll start free classes again." The boy's eyes widened. "Really, sir?" "Yes," Arif nodded. "Because teaching should never depend on money." That night, he reopened his old notebook and wrote, "Teaching is not about showing success. It's about sharing strength." He decided to spend one evening alone in the classroom, without lights, without students, just him, the chalkboard, and silence. He stood there, remembering his first lesson years ago, nervous, trembling, uncertain. He smiled. He picked up a piece of chalk and wrote on the board. "Why did I start?" Then slowly, answers came. To help others speak. To prove that even a small-town boy can rise. To make my mother proud. He sat down, tears sliding quietly down his face. "Yes," he whispered, "that's who I was. That's who I'll be again." The next day, Arif began teaching differently. Fewer students, smaller classes, deeper lessons. He focused less on fluency and more on purpose. He told them, English is not just a language. It's a bridge. But if you forget who you are while crossing it, you'll fall. He used his personal experiences to guide them. The failures, the fear, the loneliness. Students listened with shining eyes. Word spread again, but this time not because of glamour, but because of truth. One evening, Arif found a letter slipped under his classroom door. It read, "Sir, I joined your class because I wanted a job. But now I understand I needed courage more than grammar. Thank you for teaching us how to live, not just how to speak." Raju. Arif read it again and again, smiling through tears. "Yes," he said softly. "That's the kind of fame I want." That night, sitting under the stars, Arif reflected. He realized that life isn't about endless growth or applause. It's about alignment. When what you do matches who you are, peace follows naturally. He whispered to himself, "I was chasing perfection, but what I needed was purpose." He closed his eyes, feeling the night breeze. For the first time in months, his heart was still. Weeks later, he finally returned online, but not for a grand event. He started a quiet live session titled, "Don't Waste Your Life, a Message from a Small-Town Teacher." He sat in his simple classroom, camera pointed at the old chalkboard. He began, "When I started teaching, I thought English was everything. Then I learned that words mean nothing if they don't come from truth. You don't need fame. You need faith. Don't waste your life chasing noise. Find your own voice and use it to help someone else." Thousands watched in silence. Some cried. Comments flooded in. "Sir, this touched my soul. I'll start again. Thank you. You made me believe in myself." But Arif didn't look at the numbers. He just smiled. If even one person found hope, he thought, then it's worth it. That night, he returned home to his mother. She poured him tea and asked softly, "Feeling lighter?" He smiled. "Yes, Ma. I stopped running from silence." She looked at him with pride. "Then you've truly learned what no book can teach, peace." As he gazed out the window at the quiet streets of Kalyampur, he knew he was finally back, not to where he started, but to who he was. He whispered, "The world doesn't need perfect teachers. It needs honest ones." 2 years passed. Kalyampur had changed. New schools, new energy, and young faces speaking English confidently in tea shops and at the bus stop. The Fluent Future Center was now a small campus with 3 classrooms and a tiny library. The walls were painted with words like, "Believe before you speak. Dreams have no accent. Don't waste your life." Arif still taught there every morning, but slowly he had started giving his students more responsibility. He would say, "One day you will teach in my place. Learning is temporary. Sharing is forever." He no longer wanted to be the face of the movement. He wanted to build more faces, more voices. Among the new students was Sana, a 17-year-old girl from a nearby village. She came from a poor family, shy, quiet, always sitting in the last row. But her eyes sparkled whenever Arif spoke. One afternoon, after class, Arif asked her, "Sana, why do you look so serious in my lessons?" She looked down. "Sir, I want to speak like you, but my English is bad." He smiled. "So is mine. But you don't need to speak like me. You need to speak like you." She nodded slowly, not fully believing yet. That evening, Ariv gave her a simple task, to lead a 10-minute class for beginners. She panicked. "Sir, I can't." "You can," he said gently, "because fear only grows until you face it." The next day, she stood trembling in front of 5 small kids. She stumbled over her words, forgot lines, and almost gave up until she saw Ariv smiling in the back row. She took a deep breath and continued. By the end, the kids were clapping. That night, she wrote in her notebook, "Sir believed in me before I did." Maybe that's what a real teacher is. One morning, Ariv received a call from EDU World International, an organization that sponsored teachers for overseas programs. "Mr. Ariv, we've heard of your work. We'd like you to come to London for a year, train teachers globally. It's a huge opportunity." He was silent for a while. London, a dream for any teacher. But his eyes drifted to the classroom window, where Sanaa was teaching a group of children with passion and laughter. He replied softly, "Thank you, but my work is here for now." The voice on the phone insisted, "Sir, think about the fame, the exposure." Ariv smiled faintly. "I've already seen the world, right here in my students' eyes." He hung up and stepped outside, feeling light. He didn't need to chase the world anymore. He had built his own. One evening, heavy rain flooded Kaliampur. The school roof leaked, furniture soaked, books damaged. Rena panicked. "Sir, we'll have to close for repairs." Ariv looked at the mess, then smiled. "No, we'll teach outside. Rain can't wash away dreams." So, the next morning, they gathered under a large tree. Children sat on dry mats. Ariv stood with a soaked notebook, teaching verbs while water dripped from his hair. Everyone laughed, and the sound of learning mixed with the sound of rain. Sanaa whispered, "Sir, aren't you tired?" He smiled. "Teaching is my umbrella." Weeks later, Ariv collapsed while teaching. His vision blurred, his chest felt heavy. Doctors said it was exhaustion, years of overwork, little rest. "Sir, you need to slow down," the doctor warned. "You can't carry the whole world alone." At home, his mother held his hand and said softly, "You've done enough, Ariv. Let your students carry your light now." He nodded weakly. Deep inside, he knew she was right. A month later, when Ariv returned to the classroom, he didn't pick up the chalk. Instead, he called Sanaa forward. "Today," he said, "you will teach. I'll sit where you once Saturday." The students gasped. "Sir, you're serious?" He smiled. "Completely." Sanaa hesitated, then walked to the board, holding the same piece of chalk he had used for years. Her hand shook, but her voice didn't. "Good morning, class," she began confidently. "Let's learn to speak from the heart." Ariv watched from the back, eyes shining. In that moment, he saw his younger self, nervous, determined, full of fire. When the class ended, he clapped softly. "You're ready, Sanaa. You'll go further than I ever did," she whispered. "Only because you showed the path, sir." That evening, Ariv walked through the schoolyard. The air was cool. The sound of laughter echoed from the classrooms. He realized he no longer needed to lead every session. The school could now run without him. He sat on the old bench outside and looked up at the stars. His notebook lay beside him, the pages filled with years of lessons, quotes, and dreams. He opened it to the first page, the same words he'd written long ago. "Don't waste your life." He smiled. "I didn't," he whispered, "and neither will they." The students secretly planned a surprise celebration, Ariv Sir Day. When he entered, the hall was decorated with handmade posters. "Thank you for teaching us to believe. Our voices exist because of you." Sanaa gave a short speech. "Sir taught us that English isn't about grammar, it's about courage. He taught us to speak, to dream, and to live without fear." Then the students presented him with a wooden plaque engraved with his words. "Don't waste your life. Teach someone to dream." Ariv couldn't hold back his tears. He looked at the crowd and said softly, "I came here with one voice. Today I hear hundreds. That is my greatest reward." A few weeks later, Ariv gathered his students one last time before taking a short break for his health. He said, "Remember, success isn't when people know your name. It's when your work keeps speaking after you're gone. If you ever feel lost, close your eyes and ask, why did I start? He paused, smiling. And if your answer is love, then keep going. Then, like he always did, he ended the class with one final sentence. Don't waste your life. Make it meaningful. The class echoed, yes, sir. Years passed. Arif's hair turned gray, but his spirit stayed young. The Fluent Future Center expanded into 5 branches across the region, all led by his former students. Sana became a trainer, guiding teachers across villages. Each of her classrooms carried a small photo of Arif with the caption, "The boy who changed the meaning of English." Sometimes, reporters visited to interview him again. He would smile and say, "No need to record my story. Record theirs." On a quiet morning, Arif walked to the old tree, the same place where he had once taught during the flood. Children were laughing, reciting English sentences. Sana was teaching under that tree now. Arif sat on a bench, listening. He didn't interrupt. The rhythm of her voice, the laughter of the students, it was perfect. He closed his eyes. This is what I dreamed of. Sana noticed him and walked over. "Sir, will you say a few words to them?" He smiled. "No need. You're already saying everything I ever wanted to." He stood up slowly, placed a hand on her shoulder, and whispered, "Keep the light alive." That night, Arif wrote one last page in his notebook before closing it forever. I learned that life is not about being remembered. It's about leaving something worth remembering. If you are poor, start with your will. If you are afraid, start with your voice. Every word you speak can change someone's life. So speak with love, teach with honesty, and live with purpose. Don't waste your life waiting for the perfect time. The time is now. He placed the notebook on his desk and looked out the window. The moonlight fell on the school sign, Fluent Future Center. He smiled. From one student to the world, thank you. If you're listening to this story, remember, you don't need to be rich, fluent, or perfect to change your life. Start small. Start today. Speak your truth. Because every dream starts with one sentence. I will not waste my life.